Hey everybody, it's X, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena. Today I'll be playing one last Mixed Up Sealed. This is the April Fool's 2022 event, where we get 6 15-card packs from draftable sets all over Arena. So the cards are completely randomized from Kaladesh Remastered all the way up to Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. So pretty chaotic draft format, but it doesn't contain any historic anthologies cards or anything like that. So not as spicy as it could be, but still pretty chaotic, pretty fun, super fun time, super cheap to get into, just 100 gold to play. You get that back if you get at least 1 win before 3 losses, and there's really nothing on the line here. So pretty fun little event, and I'd like to give it one more run before it leaves Arena. So without further ado, let's bust open these sealed packs and see what rares we're working with today. Alright, so it looks like we've got a couple really powerful black rares if we have snow sources for the Draugr Necromancer. This is a 4-mana 4/4. If a non-token creature an opponent controls would die, exile it with an ice counter on it instead. And we can cast spells from among cards and exile your opponent's control with ice counters on them. And we spend mana from snow sources as though it were mana of any color to cast those spells. So I'm still going to play it if I end up in black, even if I don't have any snow sources, because it'll work against people playing the same colors as me. But ideally, with some snow sources, we can cast our opponent's cards against them, regardless of what colors they are. Marionette Master is another powerful black rare here. This is a 6-mana 1/3 with Fabricate 3, which means we can play 3 servos or 3 +1/+1 counters on this. And then whenever an artifact we control is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, target opponent loses life equal to Marionette Master's power. So you can just spend 6 mana, get a 1/3 and 3 1/1s, and whenever those 1/1s die, you're dealing another damage to your opponent. Pretty great deal. Obviously, you'd want to have a lot of artifacts, which isn't going to really happen in Mystery Sealed, but still probably a card that's playable on its lonesome, just for the servo producing part. We have Treasure Vault and Temple of Malady, which are certainly unexciting rares to open because they're just lands. Then we have Nullhide Ferox, which is a great green rare, 4-mana 6/6 hexproof. The downside is you can't cast non-creature spells, but you can spend 2 mana to make it lose all abilities until end of turn, which means you can spend 2 mana, basically a 2-mana tax on your next non-creature spells. However, your opponent can activate that ability as well, so that they can actually kill it with their removal spells. So really interesting card. I love the lopsided ability there. It's so unique that you can use it to be able to cast non-creature spells, but your opponent can use it to be able to target it. And then this probably won't come up, but if somebody makes us try to discard this Nullhide Ferox, they will lose the game on the spot. It's a bad time. It'll go right onto the battlefield, basically. So we'll just get a free instant speed Nullhide Ferox if somebody makes us discard it. Our last rare is the least playable, Glass of the Guild Pact, a 2-mana artifact, multicolored creatures you control get +1/+1. Even in the very multicolored format that this card was first released, it wasn't super playable because you had to draft around it so hard to get enough multicolored creatures for it to be worth it. And it's going to be pretty much entirely impossible that we open enough multicolored creatures in this sealed event. So I don't think that's going to be the thing. So let's take a look through all of the commons and uncommons here. Look at each color. White certainly looks pretty bland here, but we have good removal. Pacifism, creatures can't attack, block. Compulsory Rest does the same thing, but our opponent can sacrifice that creature to gain some life later. We do have Gideon's Triumph for removal as well. Make our opponent sacrifice an attacking or blocking creature. So if they attack with just one creature, that's great. We kill the one creature they attack with. Flutterfox is a filler 2-mana 2/2. Youthful Knights are actually a great 2-drop. A 2-mana 2/1 first strike means it attacks in really well throughout the game, especially if you have some combat tricks or equipment. And we do have a +2 mace we'd probably run if we go down white, because that'll help with Youthful Knight getting bigger. It'll help with Flutterfox getting flying. Yeah, white looks pretty solid, pretty basic. We've also got like Aether Inspector, 4-mana 2/3 Vigilance. As soon as it attacks, we get a 1/1 alongside it, which makes it worth it. If we're super heavy into white, this will be a 4-mana 3/6, which is okay. If we're not, a 4-mana 2/5 isn't that exciting. Heron Blessed Geist would go right into this deck. 5-mana 3/3 Flyer. We can exile it from the graveyard as long as we control an enchantment to get 2 1/1 flyers. So with a Pacifism, we could do that sometimes. I guess Compulsory Rest isn't going to stay on the battlefield very long because our opponent will sacrifice the creature that has it, so it's not the greatest. Angelic Gift is fine because it's a cantrip, meaning that you just draw a card right when you play it. So Angelic Gift is fine. Just give some random dork flying and draw a card. God's Hall Guardian is kind of just the easier to get Arden Vale Paladin. Like this one's just definitely going to be a 3/6 and it's Vigilance, so we'd play that. And if we have a ton of flyers, then Sky Tether can be a fine removal spell. But white looks just okay. 2 removal spells, a little bit of good creatures, nothing bomby going on in white, and not like a really consistent amount of creatures, just like a few of them. See what our blue looks like here. Some random walls, a little bit of counter spells. Pilfering Hawk's just unplayable because we don't have snow mana. Blue is certainly not looking the greatest. It has some good cards like Run Aground that can really slow down your opponent. Skitter Eel can be a 5/5, which is pretty nice, pretty big. And then Syncopate's a good counterspell, but blue is pretty lacking. It's pretty empty. There's just not a lot of blue cards, and the ones that there are not particularly exciting, so I just don't think blue is particularly likely to be the deck here. However, now we are moving on to black, which is a color pair we would really enjoy. Well, a color we'd really like to be good because we have that Draugr Necromancer and the Marionette Master here, and it looks like it is going to be solid. We've got Aether Poisoner, 2 mana for a 1/1 Death Toucher that spits out a 1/1 servo when it attacks the first time. Agonizing Remorse is a decent discard spell. Choose any card in our opponent's hand and make them exile it. Blade Brand is great with creature tokens or just small creatures in general, so this is going to work well with the servo tokens that we can get out of Marionette Master and Aether Poisoner. Moment of Craving is great cheap removal. Inkrise Infiltrator has been pretty good in Kamigawa, a really nice mana sink on that to hit your opponent for a bunch, and flyers are pretty good in Mystery Sealed. Night Squad Commando is perfect. We have a little bit of a token theme going on to make Blade Brand a little more powerful. So we'd like a 3 mana 2/3 that maybe spits out a 1/1 token. Draugr Necromancer is going right in here, so if we play against an opposing black deck, we might cast our own spells against them. Already spoke on Marionette Master. Excuse me, that's definitely going in. Tithe Bearer Giant's a great 6-drop. A 6 mana 4/5 that draws a card when it enters the battlefield. We do lose a life as well, but certainly worth it. We could play Village Rites as well to go with the token theme, just sack a creature, draw 2 cards, and worst case scenario, we respond to a removal spell with that, which is pretty good. Smitten Swordmaster's fine if we really need lifelink. Walking Corpse if we just need more 2-drops. Hagrid Constrictor's interesting if we get a lot of +1/+1 counter stuff, but otherwise a 3 mana 2/2 menace isn't great. It's fine. That's pretty much everything else we have in black here. Is like, it's not great. It's fine. We'll play it if we need to. But yeah, black looking like a pretty good color. These are like the cards that I'm happy to play, and then we have more filler to put in if we need to, if we just need more cards to fill out the deck. So moving on to red now. Red already has me a little excited because we see a shock first thing. 1 mana to do 2 to any target. Pretty great. Reckless Rage can be good if you have enough creatures that have more than 2 toughness. Not a card I would just throw in blindly though, so we'll keep that in the side for now. All of the deserts are excellent in limited. Having a land that can cycle if you draw it late in the game is awesome, so we definitely run that. Royal Eruption, great cheap removal. Spikefield Hazard can maybe kill something, and it's a land in the worst case scenario. Unfortunately, our creatures in red are just not good. Yeah, this is a little sad. We do have Run Amok, which is a great aggressive card if we had the aggressive creatures to support it, but when you look at the creatures we have in red, we have Headstrong Brute, a 3 mana 3/3 that can't block. That's it. We're not going to have another pirate on the board. Sneaking Guide, which can help our other creatures sneak in, but we just don't have other creatures with power 2 or less. Skizzik is good, a 5 mana 5/3 trample haste, but then we have Weary Prisoner, which is not particularly exciting. It's just hard to get it on the mode you want it to be on, and the fact that it has to attack during the night and can't attack during the day, pretty rough restrictions on it. Pitchburn Devils is fine, Rapacious Dragon is fine, and Ironhoof Boar is fine. Ironhoof Boar would be a lot better, again, if we had more cheap 1 mana, 2 mana creatures. So red is a color that has some decent cheap removal, but it needs a lot of support from whatever other color we're running. So maybe we could go red-black or something like that, but we definitely can't have red be the core color of our deck. Moving on to green, a bunch of fine little combat tricks if we want to run one in the deck. Line of War Scout, Super Filler. Toxic Scorpion's a nice cheap Death Toucher. Marauder Brute, 3 mana, 3/3, sure enough. Spore Crawler's great, 3 mana, 3/2, and we draw a card when it dies. Yavimaya Sapper's great, a 3 mana 2/2 and 1/1 off of that one card. We have Greater Tanuki for mana fixing. We have Flourishing Hunter for a bunch of life gain and get back in the game. We have Infestation Expert, a ton of power toughness on the board off that one card. Hookhand Mariner, a 4 mana 4/4 at worst. That's a 6/4 during the night. Nullhide Ferox, the Ridiculous Bomb. Monstrous Onslaught can be multiple removal spells out of this one card. We deal X damage divided as we choose among any number of creatures, where X is the greatest power among our creatures. So it's kind of like Spinning Wheel Kick in a way, where it's very good if you have a good creature out to cast this with, but you are going to draw it sometimes where you're just not in a good spot with it. But yeah, Monstrous Onslaught, probably run it here with 6/5, 6/6s, 4/4s. What else do we have here? Green's looking really exciting. I probably like green the best here. I'm definitely considering like green-black because we've got that Temple of Malady as well for mana fixing in that color pair. Green also gives us Urban Utopia for more mana fixing. So we have Urban Utopia for a bit of mana fixing, Greater Tanuki for a bit of mana fixing, the green-black duel if we're going down the green-black path. If we want to play even more colors, we could play Archway Commons for some more mana fixing, or Simic Locket if we want to be splashing in blue. But if we want to play colors other than green, I think the next best color is black, and if we're playing green-black, then in order to splash in cards, we'd need to really, really be having a ton of non-basic lands and stuff to help splash them, because the cards that look super splash-worthy to me here are like Sacred Fire and Lawmage's Binding, which are blue-white and red-white, and if green-black is the core of our deck, then we need to splash 2 colors to splash those in, because I don't think white or blue is going to be the core. I think it's going to be green-black here for me. So let's slap Temple of Malady in here. Don't think we're going to be playing enough of one color to go for the Clockwork Servant to try to draw a card. And these other uncommons aren't great. Relic Amulet was pretty good in Zendikar, but that's because you could draft a deck with a ton of instant sorceries and wizards. Don't think we'll have a lot of any of those. Yep, let's slam in the good black cards here, I think. Basically all of the ones that I already spoke my piece on. All right, we are going to have to put some of the filler into the deck, it looks like, either from green or black. 15 creatures, we need 3 more cards, so probably 1 more non-creature, 1 more creature to hit that just 17 creature basic count there. How was the creature count looking at 2 mana? Do we need more? We only have 3 creatures at 2 mana. Yeah, we can run a filler 2 mana 2/2 like Walking Zombie in here, potentially. Or Llanowar Scout. I don't really love Llanowar Scout, though. I think I'd rather have Walking Zombie, to be honest. Because Llanowar Scout doesn't actually help you ramp up. It just lets you put the lands that are already in your hand out there. What's really good about cards that pull land out from your deck into your hand is that they help you go up the curve while not like going down a card or anything. Because think of like the ideal Llanowar Scout hand. This is probably the easiest way to explain this. If you think of the ideal Llanowar Scout hand, where you're getting as much value out of this as possible, it's like 6 lands on a Llanowar Scout, and then you draw your 6-drop. And that's a problem, right? Because each one of these lands that you draw is a land instead of a non-land card. So if you're getting maximum value out of Llanowar Scout, it means you're kind of going all in on your 6-drop and just not drawing any other playable cards because you're just playing a bunch of lands instead. So that's why I really don't love cards that are just like put lands that are already in your hand onto the battlefield. Because if your hand is all lands anyway, you're probably already losing the game because they're just all clumped up. Instead of getting non-creature cards interspersed with your lands. So I would much prefer cards like a Skittering Surveyor that can pull a land out of my deck to my hand to help me keep moving up the curve. We need to turn off the creature filter here because we do want probably 1 more non-creature card in the deck. There's no more playable non-creature cards in black, though, just to devour intellect. In green, we have all these random combat tricks, I guess, or Survivor's Bond. How many humans do we have? Is this going to be picking up 2 things? 6 humans? Survivor's Bond is probably 2 mana. Return 2 creatures from grave to hand. Yeah, Survivor's Bond seems fine to me. I don't think our mana is difficult enough to need Urban Utopia, but it does draw a card when we play it. So we can go Survivor's Bond for some recursion, or we can go with one of these combat tricks, Gift of Growth or Boon of Boseiju. I think I'd rather pick up some recursion here. We're going to have some nice creatures to recur. Now let's check out the creatures again. We need one more creature. See how our creature curve looks. Looks pretty good. We can kind of just take the creature at whatever point in the curve we want. I guess we're missing the most on more cheap creatures, because cheap creatures make Bladebrand, Village Rites, and Survivor's Bond all better. Because we want creatures on the board to be trading for Survivor's Bond, we want a creature on the board for Bladebrand to do something, and we do have pretty good late game. We have Greater Tanuki, Flourishing Hunter, Tidebearer Giant, lots of big 6-drops. We probably don't need more stuff there. Let's just throw another cheap card in, I think, and call it a day. So I guess we could play the Llanowar Scout. I mean, it is still a 2-mana 1/3, so it isn't... Just because the activated ability on it isn't something I'm super excited about doesn't mean it's completely unplayable. It is still like decent stats for the mana cost. Although we could go Clockwork Servant as well and try to go like really heavy into green, I guess, because we have a lot of double green. And our green gives us a little bit of mana fixing with Greater Tanuki. I really like drawing a card, but do I like drawing a card enough to wait on playing a 2/3 until like turn 5? If on average I'm not going to have triple green sources till like turn 5. That would be if I like cut a swamp, add a forest, throw in a Clockwork Servant. I kind of think so. I love drawing a card. I think everybody likes drawing cards. Yep, Smitten Stormmaster would be like fine. Whatever we're putting in here is just gonna be like fine anyway. But let's go with the Adamant green deck here. Get that Clockwork Servant in here. Try to hit triple green. And this will be the deck. Just some gold garbage stuff to wrap up the Mystery Sealed events. Game 1 of the Mystery Sealed, not a super keepable opener. We need to hit a land to cast anything. We need to hit a swamp to be able to cast most of our hand. We could still keep it and get greedy, because that is a Nullhide Ferox if we hit any 2 lands, and we're on the draw. We're on the draw, any land gets Brute. Any 2 lands gets Ferox. Any swamp, well, a swamp, gets us the rest of the hand pretty much. You know, let's get greedy. Let's get greedy. It's Mystery Sealed. There's really nothing on the line. It's 100 gold on the line, and we've immediately drawn the swamp. Let's do this thing. And of course, as soon as we get 1 win, we do not have to worry about the 100 gold anymore. We could Moment of Craving the Null Hunter right now, but it'll be a while before they get the Pack Tactics trigger, so we'll just play an Aether Poisoner. Start putting our creatures on the board. Hope they attack in. Yes, I was going to say, I hope they attack in so that I can get my attack in with Aether Poisoner without worrying about it dying. Because I'd like to keep Aether Poisoner out until they play bigger creatures, since they are a green deck. Brine Barrow Intruder. Well, that will come in and snipe my Aether Poisoner without dying, so we're going to go ahead and Moment of Craving that, instead of playing a Marasa Brute this turn. Because we want to keep that Aether Poisoner around. So Draugr Necromancer will actually work in this matchup. Any green creatures that we kill we'll be able to cast on our own board. So that's kind of exciting. I don't think it's exciting enough to play it over Nullhide Ferox, even though we just drew a non-creature spell that we just won't be able to cast as long as Ferox is down. I think Nullhide Ferox is the kind of card that is just like, you have to deal with it. Our opponent probably has more flash cards here. They have 4 mana up and they cast nothing. It's probably not that bad. If they want to flash in some cards to deal with our 1/1s here, that'll mean that their mana's down, and we know that they won't be countering Nullhide Ferox with some blue and 2 counterspell or something. So I think we go for it here. See if Nullhide Ferox resolves. Springjaw Trap it is from our opponent. That can just do 3 damage to a creature. 3 damage, not enough to kill the Ferox, so things are looking pretty good for our big old Hexproofer here. Yeah, they're just going to spend the mana to kill the Death Toucher, and they're just going to scoop them up. Nullhide Ferox is just no fun for our opponent. That is 1-0 for the Golgari deck. Another hand, another Nullhide Ferox. Let's go for it. Turn 2 Aether Poisoner as well. And the Monstrous Onslaught. Shuffler rigged? This is some Magic Arena Shuffler conspiracy theory stuff here. Is wild. I would like to get their Death Toucher out of the way. That's going to be super annoying for my Nullhide Ferox. May have to use a Monstrous Onslaught in the future. Ooh, Village Rites to use on one of our 1/1 tokens. It's pretty good. We're probably supposed to just cast Nullhide Ferox. But then it's just not going to attack in for quite some time, so maybe we don't. Maybe we just Village Rites like right now and see if we can draw something that costs 3 or less. Ooh, Clockwork Servant does cost 3 or less, but I'm going to cast that off triple green. I should have Village Rites before I played my land, and I have been served my punishment. Alright, let's get an Infestation Expert down. Again, we're just going to wait to cast Nullhide Ferox until we get this Orzhov Enforcer out of the way. Vorst Claw. That's a 7/7. But that's okay because we have a Death Toucher. So Monstrous Onslaught does the damage, not the creature that you choose. So do not cast this card with a 1/1 Death Toucher. Just going to point that out here. That is why I'm not casting it right now with my 1/1. Let's get an Adamant Clockwork Servant down to draw a card. Hookhand Mariner is pretty nice, but we'll just play our flyer here. Got our Death Toucher to deal with the Vorst Claw. Opponent going to sacrifice the Golgari Locket to draw 2 cards. And they are over it. Not the cards they want to see there. They don't like that our board has gone wide. I guess whatever's in their hand just can't deal with anything on board here. And they're just thinking, well, I can never attack in with Vorst Claw into Aether Poisoner. And now my opponent's just going to start chipping me for 4 damage every turn, or 3 damage every turn with the Inkrise Infiltrator in the sky. Yeah, and I guess Infestation Expert is flipping to nighttime as well, since they didn't cast any spells there. But yeah, there's the concession from our opponent, 2-0. Heading into round 3. Potential 3-0 from the Golgarbage deck, we'll see. Alright, we're on the play here, but our hand starts at 4 mana. Seems too slow. It's very high impact once we get there, but there could be some aggressive decks in this format. Doing absolutely nothing till turn 4 is a big bummer. At the same time, we're 2-0. We've got some breathing room to get some losses, and if we lose this game, that just means we get to play some more Magic. The 100 gold entry fee definitely affecting the gameplay choices of myself, and probably our last 2 opponents. I mean, those were some somewhat early concessions that they might not have done in a more expensive format. So our opponent is on black and white, plus they have a Mana Geode down, so they could be in more colors. We have not drawn a land out of our first 3 draws. Just a big bummer, because we just need 1 land to cast some big deals here. Opponent's going to value off on us here with Cloud Blazer. We've got Bladebrand. We kind of have to cycle to draw a card, because it's not like we can kill the flyer with that anyway. Our creature's already big enough for the Scorpion. If we cycle it right now, we can still play land drop for turn in case we draw a 5th land. Next turn, we can play a 5 drop then. So cycle that Bladebrand, and that is why I don't really like You're Already Dead, because in situations like this, You Are Already Dead in Kamigawa Neon Dynasty, it's just not castable, whereas Bladebrand, sure, it's 1 more mana, but it's going to kill anything that You're Already Dead's going to kill, and you can cycle it when you're not in a position to use it well. So I think I like Infestation Expert here. Start cluttering things up on the ground a little more. So we're really only taking Cloud Blazer damage. We'll probably have to Monstrous Onslaught the Cloud Blazer, which will flip the Desperate Farmer to being a 4/3 lifelink. Oh dear. Oh no, we're mega dead. That's Cavalier of Night. That is a 4/5 lifelinker that destroys one of our creatures when it comes into play. They do have to sacrifice a creature to do that, but that's a good thing for our opponent, because the creature they sacrificed drained us for 2 life and flipped Depraved Harvester. So that is absolutely brutal, and we are likely to die in only like 2 turns now. Double block Harvester or single block Trudge. Double block Harvester would lose both our creatures. Let's just single block the Trudge here. Does it only cost 2 to return to hand? That only costs 2 mana to return it to their hand, so they could have returned it to hand before they passed turn there, I think. But they must be holding something up then. Well, we can Monstrous Onslaught for 1. Or play a 4/4. Or play a 2/3. A 4/4 is not much better than a 2/3 here, and we get to draw a card, try to hit on next land drop if we do this. Well, I guess a 4/4 is better than a 2/3, because if we play a 2/3, we double block with a 2/3 and a 1/1 on Depraved Harvester, so lose both to kill 1 creature. But if we play a 4/4, we can double block with a 4/4 and a 1/1 on their 4/5, and then go to 2 life here. So yeah, 4/4 is better. Play a 4/4. Guessing this is just like one... Okay, yeah, I was going to say 1 removal spell, 1 counter spell, just gets there here. Now all we can do this turn is trump block and be at 1,000,000 life. And we're down to 2. Alright, well, that is going to be game. Kept kind of a slow hand. I don't think we really got punished because our hand was slow, and it was more that we got punished because our opponent's hand was brutal. I don't think we would really have won that game had we mulliganed more aggressively, so 2-1 it is as we head into round 4. Well, round 4 it is, mono green hand, but we have a turn 3 Marasa Brute. Once we get a swamp, we've got a lot of action. I'm going to go for it. We've got a play in the somewhat early game. Moment of Craving is the draw. Another great card to pick up here. Chandra's Magmut is the play from our opponent. Here's our turn 3 Marasa Brute. We have not drawn a land so far, and now we are really hurting for it. We've drawn exclusively just more black cards. Some real punishment for the keep here. Some really bad punishment for the keep here. Not only are we not hitting lands, we're not hitting green cards, we're just hitting exclusively black cards. This is not panning out super well here. Foreboding Fruit from our opponent, they draw 2 and lose 2 life, but then they can gain that life back later with that food token. There we go, we've hit the swamp now. Can only cast 1 spell here. Not that worried about the damage they're doing with this Magmut, so I'd rather probably just Agonizing Remorse. See what's going on in their hand, see what they just drew here. They have Sphinx of the Guildpact, Thrill Possibility, the Scorpion God, and Ardent Dust Speaker. Super sick hand, but the Scorpion God is definitely the best card in their hand. And we're just going to not play against that card. So here's their 5-drop. It is a 3/4. You put an instant or sorcery from their graveyard on bottom of their library when it attacks. So put Foreboding Fruit on bottom of their library to cast one of the 2 cards on top of their library this turn. So that's pretty dang good. We don't have a way to kill that, but we can play a Death Toucher this turn. So let's play the Death Toucher. So we can at least kill it on blocks. Six mana from our opponent. 1 more mana will get them to the Sphinx of the Guildpact. And they've just drawn 2 more cards with Thrill of Possibility, so they're quite likely to have hit that land. This has Hexproof from monocolored, so it just has Hexproof against our deck. So it's just a 5/5 flyer that guaranteed kills us, because we cannot target it. No, Sphinx of the Guildpact's gonna get us here, since we had to exile the Scorpion God. Clockwork Servant is not horrible. We can gain some life with like Moment of Craving. We can desperately attempt to outrace our opponent. They are at 12. Settle the score on our 4-5 here. So no land for turn then. So they're not quite at the mana they need for Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Maybe we'll get really lucky and it'll take them a while. Get this Clockwork Servant down. Draw the card. And again, they are at 12. We're not completely out of this yet. We have to start doing something though, so let's send the Murasa Brood in, I guess. If we just sit here forever, they're just going to get the land for the Sphinx. Kill us with it quickly. So we'll get rid of Ardent Dustspeaker off this attack. They don't have a trick in hand. Well, they've got a trick in hand, so they'll get it right back onto the board, and they will kill the Murasa Brute. Deal a damage to us. Would I rather draw 2 cards here? No matter what happens here, Ardent Dustspeaker just stays on the board. So the question is, do I want to play another 2/2 on the board or draw 2 cards? I think I would rather draw 2 cards. Maybe we have something that I'm forgetting about that can deal with this Sphinx of the Guild Pact. Monstrous Onslaught's pretty big. It doesn't deal with the Sphinx, but if we get a Greater Tanuki down, we can kill like everything else on their board. Not everything else, but 2 of their cards, which is big. I'll go for the double block here, see what they're trying to do. Maybe they're just trying to kill our Aether Poisoner. They've got another big creature on the ground coming. Blood Burglar. Okay, that's fine by me. Alright, so we're going to cast Greater Tanuki here and Walking Corpse, and we're setting up for a Monstrous Onslaught into attempting to just lethal them with big 6/5 trample style cards. Again, just trying to outrace that Sphinx, which luckily they still don't have the mana for. Elderfang Disciple, make us discard a card. Discard Nullhide Ferox. We got to do the thing. It's just out on the board. Nullhide Ferox is high. That's rude. Oh no, and there's the scoop from our opponent. I was going to say, the one issue with that is now we have to spend 2 more mana to cast Monstrous Onslaught, but we can afford it. We have 8 mana. So then it goes to our turn. We spend 2 mana so that we can cast non-creature spells, and then 5 mana to Monstrous Onslaught. Monstrous Onslaught for 6 damage. We probably go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1 damage to the Dustspeaker. Attack with everybody. They kind of have to chump block the 6/6, take 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Really brutal game for our opponent. Stuck on the mana from the Sphinx of the Guild Pact for too long. We got to get our own big creatures down. And the Elderfang Disciple to let us cast Nullhide Ferox was really good for us. The odds of your opponent having something like a Nullhide Ferox in hand are so low that if you play an Elderfang Disciple and get punished like that, it's like, what the heck? It's brutal. So anyways, that is the event. 3-1 here with this Skull Garbage deck. Super fun time. Here's our prizes. But that is going to end today's video, as well as ending the mixed up sealed events for the time being. I really hope they bring events like this back again. I'd love to see more Phantom events with pretty low entry fees that are just fun, limited formats like this. Obviously, I play the Arena Cube all the time, and that is a Phantom event with a much more expensive entry fee. So I would, I'd like to see more mixed up sealed type events. They're a super fun time. But yeah, that's going to end today's video. We've still got Dominaria drafts on Arena for another probably 3 or 4 days now, so we'll have a few more Dominaria drafts up in the meantime. And then starting April 8th, we've got Ravnica Mixer sealed, so we'll be doing some more sealed then. And then Tinkerer's Cube drafts the week after that, followed by the launch of Streets of New Capenna at the end of the month. So plenty of great limited stuff on the horizon. Stay tuned if you're interested in that. As always, you can like, comment, and subscribe to let the YouTube algorithm know to send more of these videos to yourself and others. And once again, as always, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.